Welcome back, everybody. Our first guest tonight is a Tony and Academy Award-winning actor, you know, from movies like The Theory of Everything and the Fantastic Beasts franchise, and from his work in Cabaret at the Kit Kat Club on Broadway. This week, he was nominated for 2 Golden Globes for The Day of the Jackal. The double-episode season finale premieres December 12th on Peacock. Let's take a look.
Is this you? Kill people for money.
Yeah.
Say it.
Say what?
Say the words. Say the words.
I kill people for money.
Please welcome back to the show our friend Eddie Redmayne, everybody.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Congratulations on your Golden Globe nomination.
Congratulations on yours,
Thank
mate.
you. We were talking backstage. You were, I know this sounds like a cliche, but you were genuinely surprised. You weren't even thinking about it morning of.
Do you know, I was actually flying here to see you.
Yeah.
And I got off the plane and there were a ton on my phone and there were a ton of messages and it was completely shocking and completely thrilling. Yeah.
You know, good things happen when you get on a plane to come see me.
That's true. It's true. I should do it more often.
This is, all right, so this is based on a Forsyth book.
That's true.
And then a wonderful movie from the 70s as well. That was a favorite my dad loved, but it was your dad, maybe his favorite movie.
That is completely true, yes. So I grew up watching the original movie with Edward Fox, who is sort of ingenious. And it was this kind of, I don't know, there was something just so elegant and old school and kind of analog about it, and yet it was the genre that I was completely into. And so when this script arrived in my inbox, I was like, you can't touch it, you know, it's, but what the guys had done is they'd sort of created it or moved it to now, and it retained all of that kind of original DNA, but it was new and fresh. And so I decided to do it, and my dad was like, I'm thrilled you're doing it, don't up. And because it's been coming out like in weekly installments, each week I kind of check in to see whether I it up yet.
Are your parents honest about your work? Would they let you know if you it up?
Brutally honest.
Yeah.
Yours?
Brutally honest.
Really?
Yeah. I told my dad I was nominated for a Golden Globe, and he started immediately moving on to compliments for the other nominee.
Oh my God. It's genius.
He was like, oh, they're very good. I'm like, all right, great. Yeah.
I have this thing with my mum and dad, particularly when I do theatre, that they always come afterwards and they sort of give, you know, you're quite vulnerable when you've just done a show in front of lots of people, and they give me a hug and they say, you know, well done, that's great. And I can now set my timer to about 23.5 minutes. And it's like, Don, do you think you had your hands in your pockets a bit much? I think you just touched your hair a bit. And it's always like the best note that no director would give you, because it's kind of, you know, it's too, and then I sort of sit, no, Mum, like, my hands are meant to be in my pockets. It's called character. And then inevitably the next day the hands kind of slip out of the pocket.
Yeah, it's so true. And I imagine, you know, we have kids the same age, and one day that'll happen to us. Yeah. We will observe things about our children that no one else would see, even a director. And it is funny. I think we're very lucky to have parents who still obviously want to watch the work. And the honesty is just
and they're passionate about it.
Of course.
Keeps us on our toes.
Of course. And nothing would be worse than if you were like, what'd you think? And your dad's like, I don't know.
Exactly. I didn't see it.
You do you. Is it true that you only had three VHS films at your home?
Well, growing up, definitely, like The Day of the Jackal was one of the family films on VHS, well worn. The other two were Pretty Woman and Dirty Dancing.
It's so wonderful, because if you start with Day of the Jackal and said, guess the other two, I would not. Nobody's getting those.
I know. But they are epic, and they remain, like, 3 of my favorite movies.
It's what's so wonderful about both the film and the show is you're both rooting for your character to get caught, and you're also kind of rooting for your character to get away. I mean, it's like an amazing bit of storytelling that just makes it thrilling to watch. A lot of languages you have to speak. You also have to be, you're an assassin, so you have to look like you know what you're doing with sort of long-range sniper rifles. Which was harder, doing the different, languages or the gun stuff?
Honestly, the languages were hard because I didn't speak any of them.
Yeah.
And so, well, I particularly the German, and learning, like, you basically have to learn it like music. And that was fine. It took a while, but you have no idea what you're saying, but you're just repeating the words exactly if you've been taught it by this language coach. But in the first episode of the series, I'm playing this kind of German janitor who's in his 60s. And I'd learned all the German, it was fine. But then the second I put the prosthetic on and I looked 60s, and suddenly my voice was about an octave and a half too high. And so suddenly I had to go down down here. And,
I mean, obviously I know you're in the show.
Yeah.
And so I have a sense early on, like, well, that's got to be Eddie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm watching the first scene, I'm like, but how is that Eddie? I mean, it's kind of incredible. The prosthetic work is just amazing.
Well, it's an amazing man called Richard and our makeup designer, Mel, and I love this side of it. When you watch the craftsmanship, I think like with those huge kind of Marvel films and stuff, and we're so used to seeing these sorts of things and thinking, oh yeah, that's just prosthetics. But the artistry, like they take a laser of your body, so they build a sculpture of your face, and then they sculpt it with clay. I mean, it's so old school, and then they pour the thing. It's a real art.
It's really amazing.
But also, what's weird about it is you don't get much time to practice in it because it costs so much money and takes so long to do that those great prosthetics performances like Colin Farrell in Penguin or Gary Oldman, I mean, I take my hat off to them because you're doing it, you're sort of emerging from beneath all this plastic while sweating like a fiend because the sweat's got nowhere to go. It's a thing.
Your kids visited set. Did they ever get to see you in prosthetics, and what was their reaction?
They were totally freaked out.
Yeah.
I mean,
that would be the human reaction to it. That's not. If your dad looks like this and then you see this with that voice, you'd be like, oh no.
It was not. It was really not ideal. My son came and kind of pulled at my nose to see if it would come off, and my daughter made me had to come into the makeup chair and watch it all be removed to check that I was still underneath there. Yeah.
Very fair. I feel like maybe I don't know. Maybe we're similar. I feel like I would be a terrible assassin because. Not the bloodlust. I would love to take life. No, just like you have to present, and you really do, as someone who is very certain as to what they're doing.
Yeah.
And in real life, I would have no certainty. I would just constantly be like, calling, being like, hey, yeah, I put the gun together. I just want to make sure it's right.
Completely.
And but that's a lovely part of this performance is you come off as an expert.
Thanks for saying that. That's because it transpires very like you. I'm I wanted the Jackal, because he is in the original movie. I wrote on the script on the front, I wanted him to be like a knife through butter. He's like so kind of sleek and effortless and economic, like unflappable. I am like 100% flappable. I'm like the most flappable human. And so I spent hours trying to work at like making all this appear effortless and I don't know if I succeeded, but it was a big part of it.
That's a great scene, which I feel like a lot of, it's one of my favorite tropes, which is someone trying to go through customs who is being questioned.
Yeah.
And they never give away who they are. I feel like I could get arrested for being an assassin even if I wasn't.
That's exactly true.
Like if somebody at a foreign customs is like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I don't know. I maybe killed a guy. Well, I didn't. I don't know why I'm saying that.
I literally have the same thing. And my entire body starts going like, my face goes beetroot, sweat starts pouring, and I'm like, to all intents and purposes, lying when I'm like, I'm not lying. It's like, I don't get it. It's disastrous, particularly when it's like my trade.
Yeah, well, you pull it off on screen. That's the important thing. So I do this thing on the show called Corrections.
Yeah,
and these are people. Thank you. All right. And I've given the name of the people who leave these comments on the YouTube. I've called them jackals.
Yeah.
And I guess because your show is called Day of the Jackal, the Day of the Jackal, they've started sending in corrections about your show to me.
Yeah. Those jackals are coming from my jackal.
Producer on this show as well. So I do feel like this would be unfair if you were just an actor, but you have to own these mistakes. In episode 5 of Day of the Jackal, there's a scene in which a rifle is fired at someone underwater and the bullets appear to penetrate 10 to 15 feet deep. In reality, rifle bullets would disintegrate within a few feet of the surface. So will you go back and reshoot that?
Yeah.
Okay. In episode 6 of The Day of the Jackal, the license plates in Hungary are formatted with 2 pairs of letters and 1 pair of numbers such as ADNK74. Hungary does not format their license plates in this manner, and it doesn't match the older system either.
I mean, I'm quite angry about that one.
Yeah.
I'm angry about that one because we shot it in Hungary, and all our crew were Hungarian, who I adore. and I love the idea that they were looking at it going, these dicks, they have no idea.
That's good. You know, I think that's like what I like to do too when people call me out for a mistake. I like to put it on my crew. Congrats on the show. I'll see you at the Golden Globes, man. It's always a delight. That's Eddie Redmayne. The double episode season finale of The Day of the Jackal premieres December 12th on Peacock. We'll be right back with more Late Night.